I'm Brian. I am leading the team, updating the zoning ordinance, and this is the meeting to talk about utilities and infrastructure. So free-form meetings, we just have a conversation, ask questions, and discussion. So we go around and do introductions. And, yeah.
Tony Blankenship, Northwest Highway.
And you?
Oh, sorry. I'm Mackenzie Everhart. I'm a part of the TPUGC team.
I'm Anna Blevins. I'm a planner and project manager with TPUGC.
I'm Doherty, City Manager, 7306 Cox Run Court.
In the back there?
Jeff Russell, resident. Ethan Greer, city planner.
Sarah Greer.
Yeah. In color coordinated too. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy Walker, Dogwood Drive.
Stuart Johnson, City Commissioner, Central Carmel.
Jackson Brown, I live on Nicely Road. I'm in the county.
and you?
Lisa Anderson, Mayor, Fairview.
Resident of Fairview.
All right. So as we think about development and growth in the future, and we looked at that chart during the opening presentation a couple of nights ago, we saw that really exponential growth in the county. Assuming that y'all are going to get some of it, utilities and infrastructure become important. We've had every meeting, there's been discussion about these topics, in particular the road infrastructure. And I think maybe we've touched on capacity a little bit for various different utilities and things, but how are we on capacity? And I understand you guys aren't in control of the utilities, and so whether or not things are expanded is not necessarily y'all's call.
Currently, we're at the mercy of the Water Authority of Dixon County, and a lot of attempts to increase capacity have not been successful. I believe there are other avenues being explored, but we're still decent. Middle of town, out towards 40, we're very limited going towards 8.
Mm-hmm.
Utilities that we typically have in newer developments are Piedmont Natural Gas, AT&T, fiber internet, some regular internet, and others. Comcast has recently put a fiber hub in here in the middle of town. United Communications with Middle Tennessee Electric has recently done a large improvement out here and brought fiber internet to most people. They're expanding every day. They're out here along most of this part of Williamson County with that. They have a federal grant to expand internet access, broadband access to rural Williamson County. Water Authority of Dixon County controls water and sewer. Conventional sewer systems are very limited in capacity. They have the alternative to use a decentralized on-site system for most new developments. Those are being installed per TDEX regulations, per Water Authority's regulations, and then those systems, once they are installed, are turned over to Water Authority of Dixon County for maintenance and control of that property. And so the city has although we advocate, we have no position on Water Authority's board. We advocate, try to get, and we'll even assist in trying to help make improvements at any of their plants that help serve Fairview. But those improvements are only done with their blessing. It's not the city too.
Right.
So the Water Authority of Dixon County, I meet with them once a month. I've been doing this for the past 2 years, and we've got a great relationship with them. they handled Hickman, Dixon, and Fairview. They have no relationship with Hickman County because Hickman County decided not to get on board with the Lick Creek project. So that would have opened it up for the next 20 years, no problem with water and sewer capacity. But if we have larger, like say a hospital wanted to come to 840, they don't really care about that. They'll do their own system, and then they'll work with Dixon County for that. But also Michael Rogers, we have a great relationship with him. Anytime something happens out here, if I make a phone call, he answers no matter what time of day or night it is. Plus, I'm not on the board, but I'm very tight with the board, water and sewer, and I think that's important to have a good relationship with them because that drives anything we do out here. Of course, they've increased their Jones Creek plant, which is in, out their direction. Also, they've just put $9 million into our sewer system here to help improve somewhat, but we are in need of a better solution. And if people really understood, it's just a matter of understanding how the process works. Because I think a lot of people are afraid, of effluent going into creeks. They think, oh, pollution, but it's not like that. Especially in Williamson County, we had a meeting, a planning meeting with the county. I was there, and we had someone from TDEC come and said that Williamson County is the best in the whole state on monitoring and making sure those on-site sewer systems are working properly. So basically, the effluent goes in, it's treated, it's the IV, not IV, oh Lord, not IV, not IV, UV rays. And then, so it's UV treated and then it's treated again. So once it goes into the creek, it's actually cleaner than the water that's in the creek. So if people really understood how it worked, it would go into Lick Creek. Lick Creek feeds the Duck River, keeps the Duck River flowing properly, not at a critical low stage. And then we all have water and sewer that we need. So it's just a matter of education to get this. And right now we're in the process of fighting to make sure that we can make this happen. So we do have Fairview has a great relationship with the Water Authority of Dixon County, and they, every meeting, they're working to make sure that Fairview's taken care of. So I feel good about, the situation. We do have to work on it to make sure that we get what we need as far as, the capacity.
Yeah. Well, and you said that education needs to happen, and maybe if you remember years ago when Flint, Michigan had that issue with their water, it was like all contaminated and everything, and then the president went up there and he was like, "I'm going to have a glass of the water right out of the, what? Maybe you need to have
put in the paper recently saying that
yeah,
that I would drink the water that was treated."
Yeah.
But
maybe you
it's
should bottle
fine.
it up and pass it out and be like, "Look, we know if it's not good, y'all are all going to sue us. We believe in it this much. Here you go."
I drink it first.
It's not potable.
Oh, it's not.
Not technically.
I think that's more of a making sure you don't get sued thing, though, to your point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm saying I would. I'm
Right.
not saying everybody else should.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I know enough about the process that I feel very comfortable in the way it's being treated.
Right. You ever seen those cleaner commercials? It's like, it says natural cleaner. It's like,
Oh,
it
dear.
sprays it right in his mouth. All right. So you said that most new development uses a decentralized on-site system. So if there is capacity, it's just because they're being put in places where there's not pipes that get to them.
So there are some pieces where just location of the development
Mhm.
and the access points, and the developer looks at it from a cost standpoint of what's more efficient for their development,
So they opt out, even if they could do it without running miles of pipe.
potentially. And then also from a capacity standpoint, the decentralized systems typically work best in developments that are over 45 units. Under 45 units, just about every development that's under 45 units is on traditional sewer.
So it's a math
Water-
problem.
Water is not
Understand
a significant issue. We can get water to just about every development. It's the sewer, the capacity on that back end.
Yeah.
So having, again, water authority with how the contract was written, they have full authority over that. So their internal process kind of they sit down with the developer, they go through what is best for that development in particular, then what's best for the whole system. If there's a way that a development can improve along the system, they require the development to improve the system to increase capacity for the rest of the community, not just improve enough to get that development in. They require full increases, such as like Brush Creek subdivision. They are taking out one lift station that's in kind of a crazy spot, sits right on the side of Fairview Boulevard, Highway 100. And it's dangerous for water authority to get in there and operate and maintain that because they have to park right on the white line on Highway 100. And it's in a sharp curve. They're taking that out, moving it onto their site, and they're making a larger lift station there and increasing the force main size there. So they're increasing capacity out on the east end of town with that improvement, but that was part of their, to get water and sewer from Water Authority Dixon County, that was part of their agreement.
Interesting. So a development, unlike, let's say, with road improvements, where they're responsible for their impacts. In this case, they have to expand the system beyond their needs, which I could imagine could be quite expensive.
It does get quite costly.
Yeah.
And then, in some cases out here, especially with some of our topographic challenges, sewer particularly, decentralized systems don't necessarily work on extreme topography. And then obviously it is severely dependent on soil conditions. And so there are several sites that in Fairview that you look at and you're like, to have something, but the topography within those prohibit decentralized systems, and then they don't have capacity currently for conventional sewer. So there's some limitations there from the development side that we hope to seek a solution through the state and have new wastewater treatment facilities be built and have a proper area to dispose of effluent.
So right now there is capacity or not capacity?
There is minimal capacity.
Okay.
And it is pretty dependent upon where you sit in the community.
It's a case by case basis.
If you are very close to Highway 100,
Mhm.
you have a lot more capacity. The lines that were put in back in the 80s that go down kind of Crow Cut, Old Franklin Road, Cox Pike, those are essentially at capacity. Whereas like we drove through Wynwood Park the other day when I took you on your tour, and you saw their decentralized system there at the front of their development. Essentially at that point, they were at capacity along Cox Pike, so they were no longer able to tie into conventional, and they had to construct their decentralized stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good example of, obviously the zoning code doesn't control where and capacity and all of that stuff, but we certainly could have standards for if you have an on-site alternative system, maybe you don't put it in front of your development. Maybe it's kind of hidden.
Ugly right there. I
Sure
couldn't figure
is.
out why they want to,
Yeah,
houses look nice, but
yeah,
that system is right there by the road.
quite a
I
big.
think landscaping and fencing is key,
Mhm.
because there are a couple systems that we have that, they've got the nice wood plank with nice shrubbery around it, and honestly, you know, as it's grown up, you really can't see it that
Yeah.
well. So I think landscaping is key to that situation. If they are limited to where they can put it, and it has to be, because I get what everybody says. I've driven down, over near, Polson Place. Ooh, yeah. So I'm not, yeah, I don't like that at all, but I think, in putting in our, our zoning regulations to have them really landscape that well. I think that's gonna be key because, if you do that, I mean, there's a couple that I can think of that actually you can't really even see it that well now.
Yeah.
So is Wingwood, that name subdivision there?
Winwood Park.
So do they have to seek city permission to put a system like that there? I mean,
So
on city property, or they have to go through codes? Or what's the process of them having their own system outside of the Dixon water?
So they go to Water Authority of Dixon County and ask for permission, but that permit comes from the state. The Tennessee Department of Environmental and Conservation, TDEC, issues their permit for that entire system. That does not come directly from the city. Water Authority tells them you have this option or this option, and then they go to the state, and those are all permitted through the state of Tennessee.
And when they build an alternative system like that, you said they have to give it to the authority, and then they have to pay them for it, for the use of it?
Not so. The developer builds the system, and then that land is turned over to Water Authority in perpetuity.
Mhm.
Water
Maintains
Authority
it.
owns
And
it,
maintain it.
operates it, maintains it
Right.
Developer just pays the cost of the project.
indefinitely.
Do the customers have to pay extra fee to Dixon Water Authority?
There's-
as far as sewer, like the rest.
Supposedly they're billed like everyone else.
They're billed just like everyone else for water and sewer.
So there's no incentive for the authority to expand the system because they're still getting the customers, even with these decentralized systems.
They're getting someone else to pay for it.
Mhm.
So, is there a way the city can have the developer that comes in, put them like on the backside, or put them in a spot that's surrounded by trees, or make it more aesthetically pleasing instead of just right there?
Oh, yeah.
I like the plank board, but I think for subdivisions, I couldn't figure out why they would have, people come in and build nice houses and want 500, 600, 700,000 dollars for a house. You've got a sewer system right there at the entrance to your subdivision.
The answer is yes and no. Yes, you could ask them to put it in the back, but it's very dependent upon their soil conditions on the site, their topography on the site, and then also where the state would like to see it go on the site. So the
So
state
it's really,
issues
truly
that
no
permit.
different from the county telling you what you can and can't do on the septic system.
Right, because the soil won't take so much. It'll
Mhm.
be like a pond, or it'll be like a sponge.
I think most developers would love to have it kind of where it can't be seen. They don't want, it's not like they're saying, oh, let's put this monstrosity right here in the front where, they're trying to sell homes, they're trying to sell lots. I mean, they would rather have it somewhere else. But, it's more dependent on where it can go logistically, so.
But I wouldn't, to that end though, I wouldn't imagine that we would need to have standards in the ordinance that would require them to screen it. But it sounds like we do.
Yes, I
Screening would
think
probably
it's
be
important.
What we could control.
Yes.
Location
Right.
is
I'm not
what
saying we
control.
shouldn't. I'm just saying.
No, I
to
think
if
it's
you said the
important
developers
that
would
we
rather
put-
it be somewhere else, I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
They would. I mean, most of the developments we drove through Otter Creek,
Mhm.
they have a decentralized system. If you look at an aerial of Otter Creek, it's right smack dab in the middle,
Mhm.
but it's all surrounded by homes all the way around. You can barely see the
Right.
system in the middle.
and
Earlier
if,
in the week, we talked about the character, what kind of character we want to have in Fairview. And, to like West Haven, isn't there a system on the other side of 96 tucked over there in that sharp corner where the hedgerow is?
yeah, I mean,
It's kinda hidden
well,
all the way.
it's the city's, sewer station is there
Yeah.
that happens to service Weston, but it's a traditional,
They're on
sewer system.
conventional, it's a totally different,
Right,
it's a
right.
totally different
Right.
situation.
So they got tucked
Yeah.
away, it's not sitting in front of the subdivision.
But it's not the same system. They're on
Yes,
conventional
I understand.
water and sewer, yeah.
And they've got it, it's a nice building over there and
Mhm.
it's good and the city could do something like that, require the developer that wants to come in and, well, the water authority, Dixon doesn't have enough capacity, they want to build their own, okay. The soil says you can build it here, but we want you to put some kind of shrub around it, something to make it look nice. People go by, they don't see a gravel pit there.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah. I think landscaping's the
Who would
key.
be responsible
Hold
for
on.
keep the landscaping up?
One second. Yeah, the question.
I was just gonna say on Wynwood Park, Harborfield, that subdivision is all down.
Yeah.
And that's the only level spot.
Right,
for it.
right.
And I'm like, oh, I like to see a stringing around.
Mhm.
At least that.
Heath and I both live in the same subdivision. I would pick the filter system is over in behind some houses, some property there. So it's hid behind it. Now, they do have an access road with one house. Right. But it's on level property behind the road house. And it actually be across the street.
And you can barely see it from your house. Like, if you're walking down the access road, you can look between two houses and see it back in the back, but it's pretty well hidden. And then their drip field area is a beautiful green field. 95% of the year. Yes, ma'am.
I can see it from the road. I feel sorry for those people that have that house right.
You live over now?
No, I don't.
Where do you sit?
Yeah, Ethan and Wayne both live there.
From the road they drive on to get to the house.
Cumberland Drive.
I don't know the name of the road. It's
Going
towards,
into
toward
the
the back of the development,
I've never
but
seen it.
it's visible from the road and there's a house that sits right in front of it. I would never want to buy that house.
All of those houses are directly across the street from me.
This one is
I
not next.
hear them working over there, but I've never.
That's it. Yes.
This is it.
Access road out there, actually, never seen mine.
Here it is here.
Yeah.
So there's like that little connection between those two houses there.
Is that that's not the cul-de-sac. What's that main road there?
That's the main road.
That's Braden Drive, the main kind of horseshoe road through there.
Yeah, it comes all the way around there, and then the facility's right back there.
Because my daughter lives on the cul-de-sac, Wiseman Farm Road. And so she's got that empty field behind her, which that's the reason she bought that lot.
That would be right where
And that,
your top finger is up top on
Yeah.
your
Other side.
top right is Weissman.
It'd be your left. Yeah, right there. Now,
Yeah.
keep going left, right there.
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. And it's very nice there because she
Yeah,
has
it's
that
that
open
empty field.
space.
It's empty for now.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's empty for now.
But I think it's got to
She
do with
backs up.
their step system.
The Shillings.
Oh, well, okay, if she backs up
That's
to
a
the
re-
shillings, they're not,
That
it's gonna
side
stay an
is
empty field.
is a reserved
It is actually reserved.
area for a additional capacity if they needed it. If the conventional system that they've already installed fails, they have additional capacity on the other side. to be able
And that
to
is
have-
exactly the best place to have your house because nothing can be built there. Because that's their alternate field.
Nice. You asked who maintains the screening if there were screening around it.
That property would be owned because the screening would have to be right on the property with the system. So that property would be owned by Water Authority of Dixon County, and be maintained by them.
So we can require the developer to put it in, but I'm guessing you can't require them to maintain it, the water authority.
We'd have to look at that.
Yeah. Seems like we have a good relationship though, so maybe y'all can work out a
Yeah,
deal.
I mean, I do. I cultivated that because
For such a time as
that's,
this.
that
For the amount of
determines
customers that they have
everything
in
that goes
Fairview,
on
I
out
think
here.
that they could maintain some screening.
Well, shoot, you just little drip line right off of that facility, it'll fertilize and everything. So, all right. So when they put in a decentralized system, and let's say you got the regular sewer line stops right here, and then they put in a decentralized system, does that prohibit them from moving on to the next
Does not
piece?
prohibit
They
them.
just run it along it and they just wouldn't be online?
Yeah, the decentralized system would be on site with the development, and typically all the sewer lines here are in the right of way.
You basically have redundancy. They could have tapped into it if we're there or whatever, but
And they've done that with a few different developments, Otter Creek and Richville being two that come right off hand. Their decentralized systems went in phase 3 of each of those developments, or phase 2 in Otter Creek, phase 3 in Richville. And for the original 40-ish houses that are in there, because they didn't have enough houses to make the decentralized system work optimally, those were actually connected to conventional sewer until that system came in. So they actually have, if a worst case scenario happens, they could turn the knob and send everything down the conventional sewer line and not through the decentralized system if they were to need to shut it down for any maintenance issues that ever arose throughout, which I think is a good idea to have that as a kind of a secondary backup option.
does it matter to y'all if proper sewer is expanded and accessible throughout the city?
Education, no.
The decentralized
People that
system.
are scared of it being on the property tax bill, yes. If we could ship it all to Cumberland or the Duck or wherever it ends up, then that's great for everyone.
20 years, $60 million.
I just think about, a lot of costs, obviously, is the facility, the actually treatment facility and all that, but obviously the pipe and all that has a cost too. And so if the developer isn't putting in, kind of adding to and adding to and adding to, then it's like, okay, well, now who's going to pay for that down the road? And as y'all are asking the water authority to do it, they're like, not us. And y'all are like, well, we can't afford it. But if the developer had to do it, it's kind of a different kind of situation. So, I mean, that's normal. That's what most places do, most cities.
I would prefer everything to be on conventional sewer.
Yeah.
I'd also prefer if the city maintained it, but we don't. We never will, I believe, by how the contract is written. It's in perpetuity. So I would prefer that they are able to expand, working with water authority to get development to help expand some of those pieces is a internal goal. The mayor attending their water board meetings and having a relationship with water authority that I think is probably in the best place that it's been in the last 15, 18 years since they took over the system. We have a very good relationship with them. And so trying to help them grow, it also benefits everything in the city, even from businesses. How do we get water and sewer to businesses that want to open up, a warehousing business or manufacturing business in the city to bring jobs locally? That's a challenging issue to have whenever you need jobs in the city to keep it alive. That your water and sewer availability and trying to get to the properties that businesses want to be on is a challenge. So you drive down 100 and you see a lot of businesses. Most of these buildings have been here for 40 years. There's a few newer here and there, but out like 96, there's a business that wanted to come in. There wasn't availability for what they were seeking, and they're going to go look somewhere else. And so that's at a detriment to our community when we could have had some jobs and people could stay more local.
Right.
Maybe support some businesses for lunch.
Did you say, Ethan, that you prefer a conventional system over a step system?
I would prefer it seems to work best. I don't have any issues with the decentralized system. I think that they work very well when they're designed correctly and implemented correctly. The state has some pretty good evidence that they last about 50 years. The earliest ones that were put in Middle Tennessee were put in Rutherford County in the early 70s. We're coming up on that point with some of those systems out there. And you're starting to see some failure points, and they're having to go in and do some remediation and fix those from a maintenance standpoint. But from the maintenance on a long term, the conventional system is much simpler to maintain overall. And with us, I mean, we all pay our water bill to water authority, or you get it out of the ground, but water authority is much like Fairview, Tennessee's government. They're not very large. There's not a whole lot of people there. They do have their own maintenance staff and everything, but over the long term, I think the maintenance benefit of conventional sewer over decentralized is probably outweighs that cost benefit analysis.
Short-sighted to have all the step systems.
Well,
Everybody has an opinion, but it just seems like a short-sighted solution.
at the end of the day, it makes no difference to me. I'm just asking because, as you know, one of the themes that we kind of are hearing as we explore these different topics is y'all are kind of at this fork in the road and this sort of, you know, growing pains. And it's like, okay, are we gonna become a proper city, as we're called a city? We're gonna become a city. We got this growth coming, and you don't notice cities normally having decentralized systems. They have a sewer system.
I will.
Actually, it's going the other direction.
There are a lot that have in a bunch of small towns are looking at the decentralized as a great option.
Right.
But to your point about later on down the road, one of the good things about how the decentralized system is set up, every house has a grinder pump in front of it that pumps it out towards one single point in the neighborhood. And so having that singular point with the grinder pump at the house, you could always connect that to a conventional sewer system once that is available. And so there are future alternatives that having these systems already in place, once capacity is there, you can connect it back in. And so it's not always just we're having a step system forever. In Rutherford County and some of those examples, those are out in their county where they don't have centralized.
Right. That's where you see it as in.
So they're on wells, and then they have decentralized for wastewater. So
Yeah, Lisa says she has a relationship. Relationships change. You know, decentralized systems have a life cycle. It seems a bit short-sighted. I don't know if you're on the platform about that, but it just seems like an inadequate solution for our city as we're growing.
And that's why I keep going back to that growth curve, because to your point, while some small towns may be seeing this as a good option, they may not have that growth trajectory. Like
you recall exactly what those numbers were, Brian?
540.
What the population of Williamson County will be in 2040 with their projection.
I think what was an increase in 300,000.
We're right at 10,000 people.
So what is it considered a city and not a town?
The population.
And what population makes it a city?
I don't know, because we were just changed from a town to a city, so I'm not sure. We're over 10,000 a little bit.
Here we go. So Williamson County, 2010, 184,000 people. Williamson County, 2040, 536,000.
Yeah. You spoke the other night about having, you know, with how the county is set up with 5-acre minimums and even how urban growth boundaries are set up and interlocal agreements between all the cities of the county and driving density into the municipalities.
Yeah, I mean, that's literally their stated goal.
How do you, I mean, we're probably that 20, it was a 2010 number. I think it was closer to 220 or something at 2020, but you're still 300,000 people moving in the next 15, 20 years.
Right.
And another thing you got to remember, Dixon Water Authority is not a nonprofit. They're business.
Right.
They want, they want more development because that's more money for them.
Yeah.
So the fight right now for the Lick Creek project, they're fighting hard because they don't want the limitation. So because I'm very optimistic, when that happens, then it's gonna be a game changer. So I'm hoping that, we get that to go through.
And so the result of that
It's a
improvement will,
20-year unlimited.
and that'll keep y'all from having to do decentralized systems anymore.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Question for Mayor. You mentioned 60,000 to go to Cumberland, 160 million.
Yes.
What is the cost? Did you have a cost projected for that plant?
Honestly, I'd have to check into that, but it's not $60 million, so I'd have to check into
I
that.
thought it was like 15 to 18
Yeah.
million
It's less than $20 million to do it that
to
way.
build a plant there.
But also the piping to the Cumberland, they said it would take 20 years. Yes, so I mean, I'm probably not gonna be here. Do what? Oh, if Lick Creek gets approved, I mean, they can start building it.
Who's
I mean,
against it? Who
The
needs to
rich
be
people who
educated?
live in Hickman County that are afraid of it because they don't understand it. So,
Not just rich people. I mean, there's.
Well-
Very rural.
Okay, if they build a plant in Hickman County,
they're the ones who are fighting it.
Well, they have the money to fight it.
is our plumbing pipe on Highway 100 and all that, is it sufficient enough to handle enough?
Currently, our sewer system goes right past the rec center to Overview Road.
Right.
There would have to be an additional piece put in down Highway 100.
Okay, but is it sufficient size and all to handle the capacity? Because when it was originally put in, there were some small pipe put all down Highway 100 and through all the subdivisions. Is it gonna handle a
What-
great enough capacity to handle all the people that are moving in?
Water Authority believes that it is able
Okay.
to handle the capacity. And then they would upsize going down through with the expected growth of Fairview. as
You
it
know
goes
what
on.
size the sewer pipes were put in?
I do not, but
Seems like it was only 8 or 10 inch pipes. But that's been a long time ago.
I would have to check. We can get you an answer on that. Mr.
I'm
Rogers,
thinking 8, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
I was
not
thinking it was
gonna
only
commit to
8
that,
inches
but-
big, and that's small for a sewer pipe.
But the thing about it is they're, like I said, they're a business. So
Right.
they just spent $9 million on Horn Tavern, upgrading that. So, they're not gonna say, well, this pipe's gonna limit us. They're gonna take care of that because that they're a business. They want the money coming in.
But if you double the amount of rooftops in Fairview in the next 5 years, you still gotta dump that into a small sewer pipe that's going down the highway.
Well, they're not gonna approve anything that's not gonna work. So it goes to them first. Any development that happens, that it goes to the.
Okay.
water
maybe we
authority.
should start with that. Prior to an application coming into our office for development, they have to have a water and sewer availability letter from Water Authority of Dixon County with their application
Okay.
being submitted. And Water Authority lays out what they can and cannot provide. If they cannot provide conventional sewer, this is your letter that says you're going to have to use decentralized. And if they can or cannot provide water, that's also.
But if they are still getting revenue from the decentralized system, there's no incentive for them to upgrade the pipes and stuff that are existing at
Well,
Fairview.
Their incentive is that their maintenance costs long-term for the
Yes.
decentralized systems. If you could go to one plant or 3 plants and take care of all your maintenance at that one plant, that cost is significantly lower than going to Cumberland Estates, Otter Creek, Richville,
Right.
Wynwood Park, and all these different little developments around and taking care of each individual plant. You can have on-site staff maintain those plants.
Is there an ETA about the Lick Creek, or how is that going? Is there litigation involved in that? Is there
they're working on it
they're working on that?
because, no, I mean expeditiously.
Like, yeah, well,
Yes.
I know there's people wanting to, still got developers wanting to come in here because like we said earlier in the week, this place, Fairview is just a great place to be. We're close to I-40, we're close to I-40, and it's just pretty nice to be to Nashville, Franklin, Centerville, and Dixon. And there's waiting in the wings to build, and if they can't build, they build, that means more revenue for the city coffers. And we're waiting on this.
Well, they're not really-
Behind.
This would be a better solution, but
Right.
if they put a decentralized system in that, if they're a large enough development, they can afford to do that.
There's the other side of the coin there. They put this centralized system in and go ahead and go forward with that. The county still gets the revenue tax base that these houses would provide. That's the county, city, I mean.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
And the county. I was gonna say both.
Yeah.
Do you know if there is like an overall infrastructure master plan for the future, like knowing what the growth trend is and knowing what the county did with its zoning ordinance, making those 5-acre lots? It seems like kind of like y'all, but on a countywide scale, it's got to be thought, things have to be thought of differently. The paradigm has changed, and so if it's like, well, we don't really know how we're going to do that, and there's this thing here, but that's expensive, and that it's like.
So what are you referring to?
I did, like, for instance, when we work on a comprehensive plan, I would say, okay, well, you have capacity for X number of units before you're out, right? So, there's that number, and you go, okay, well, what then, right? We're going to continue to grow. And so, well, we have this weird circumstance where we're not in control of the utilities, and so that's a problem. And so you go, okay, well, those who are in control of it, what is your plan? Have you accommodated? Have you figured out this growth situation? Okay, well, we've got some people who don't like it. If they do have a plan, okay, well, there's always going to be some people who don't like something, right? And so let's assume that we're going to listen to them. Now what? What's plan B? Or what, I mean, it's there has to be some logical steps to get to the end to say, here's how we're going to deal with this crazy curve of growth.
Plan A for Water
yes.
Authority was Lick Creek. Plan B was, they were told to, after Lick Creek was, said that was not an option. The governor said that was not an option. They were told to find a path to the Cumberland as option B. And in the intermedium, their plan to continue with development because they oversee Fairview, all of Dixon County, and East Hickman, most of Hickman County, that using decentralized was approved by the state, and they felt that they were able to handle that. So
that was their intermediate plan.
Intermediate plan is to have these decentralized systems placed around, and in their viewpoint, that allows them, with the expected lifespan of that of about 50 years, to
figure it out,
to be able to figure out the option A and option B.
Okay.
But it's they're working very hard to get the Lick Creek situation figured out. So
there was about 10 years of preliminary engineering behind Lick Creek prior to it getting squashed last summer. So,
but politicians change and leaders change. So as the change happens, you have people who could be in favor of this, and the whole dynamic change, and it happened. So, but right now we're fighting it because, but then again, if say a hospital were to be at 840, they've got enough money to do their own thing. So
what if y'all didn't have that agreement in perpetuity? You said that you wish you didn't, but if you didn't, you just build your own facilities. And
we had our own wastewater treatment facility off of CCC Road. Tom, you may know more about it than I do.
Stuart Wayne probably know a lot about it, right?
We maintained it until 2006, right?
We maintained it. Everything was fine.
group of state representatives by private act created the water authority. And then all of a sudden we had sewer problems and they needed to close our sewer plant capacity and issue a moratorium and then let these guys take us over. So.
But they got our money after it's sold.
Mm.
They would only allow a development of 20 units. Had to be built out.
And we really didn't sell it to them because we transferred them the sewer plant. We transferred them all the assets and $2.4 million was in our account. Instead of them allowing us to upgrade the facility if it needed anything.
Right.
They wouldn't let us do it, TDEC wouldn't let us do it.
Because these guys needed to build their company.
Huh.
So better let me quit talking.
Yeah.
Ruin the relationship.
Well, that's good. No, that's good. A good little insight for me. Thank you for that.
But speaking of what you said a minute ago about the 5 acres in the county,
Mm-hmm.
that's a little bit of a misnomer because you can build a house in the county on 1 acre. Developers can go to the Williamson County Planning Commission and build subdivisions out in the county. They don't have to be on 5 acres. Everybody thinks they do, but they don't.
The new zoning ordinance right now, they can build on a 1 acre lot, but I think the overall density is 1 unit per 5 acre when you do the math, unless you're in one of the hamlet or village areas, which are limited and very sparsely around, but it's, yeah. So
How do they build a house on 1 acre lot with self-contained sewer?
you have a septic and well.
And it's only part of the acre to do that.
Mhm.
Back when we was faced with just 20 lots per subdivision, we'd have a lot of developers in this town that was just barely making a living because they were limited capacity that on the subdivision where they'd done bought the land, done everything they could do.
Mhm.
And then they go down there to get the permits for the sewer. 20 lots is all they would allow.
Mhm.
And they would have to build that 20 out before they could get another. And that was, to me, back in those days, that was putting a deadlock on things.
Yeah.
And it's reflected in how some of our developments look and the length of time between beginning and end.
And if some of the other developments get approved for sewer capacity, and we couldn't even get them for, say, a 60 lot subdivision, we could only get 20.
Yeah.
Retail's a different story though, because retail, any type of retail, they use a lot less water and sewer than residential does. So they approve those differently.
Mhm.
What about like a Lowe's? They're usually next to a Walmart. Is that land next to Walmart or a Lowe's in the future?
That would be nice.
Yeah.
That land is currently owned by a private citizen.
Oh, is that
It'd be
okay?
nice if they put a Lowe's in there.
I can get you that information.
Because they would use a lot of water because they have the garden.
Well, not near what residential. Think about,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you know, clothes and dishes and toilets and, yeah, so residential.
Even as big a building as this, they
Yes.
use less,
Yeah, it's kind of,
create less affluent.
Mhm.
Like for instance, trails of Brownman, they were never allowed
Conventional city.
conventional sewer. We actually came in, board of commissioners several years ago. If it would be a conflict, they, done the engineering on it, kept us,
it's currently Bellhaven.
certainly now Bellhaven down 975 units down to 484. Now they got, tax, that, why didn't they have it before?
Hmm.
And they spend all their money.
They're on an on-site sewer system. They don't have conventional.
On-site system.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that the people that are in leadership at the water authority now, very few of them were there at the inception. So
Mm.
I'm not throwing blame to anybody.
Sure. Yeah.
If anything I said was right.
It will. It's going to be on Zoom, but it was fair. It was a fair.
Todd Murphy's the chairman, and he's also building our Ace Hardware out here.
So you don't need a Lowe's.
And he's the owner of Food Saver.
Yeah, he's the owner of Food Saver as well.
Okay.
He and his brother.
All right. What else we need to know about infrastructure?
We do have a few projects that are ongoing right now in the city with some infrastructure upgrades. With our ARPA funding, we have some culvert designs and bridge designs, particularly like the one-lane bridge on Horn Tavern Road that we drove over. That is
The
being,
one on Sleepy Hollow, that we hope to get engineered.
we didn't make it down to Sleepy Hollow with
Oh,
him,
okay.
but the Sleepy Hollow and Horn Tavern have a couple one-lane bridges, infrastructure project at the end of Northwest Highway and Highway 96. And that narrow bridge there, it was probably 2 lanes before cars got to the size they are today, but it's a 1-lane bridge passage today.
Yeah.
And so there are several different infrastructure projects in that regard that we're doing to improve our roadways. And then we have our paving project that's coming up that we talked about last night with probably the largest paving project we've done in the last 15, 20 years. So trying to improve roadway infrastructure of things that we can maintain and are responsible for, and work with our partners with the utilities to help improve their infrastructure along the way, and be advocates for them in places that we can't be.
Y'all have like an overall annexation strategy at all? Y'all annex much here?
Well, we can't annex it. If people want their property annexed,
Right.
they have to ask for it, but the city can't just annex property.
Right. But like in Franklin, there's a map you can look at, and it's like, here's all these properties around the city, and these are like, they're prioritized, like these are likely and sort of,
They're in the urban growth
desirable, and yes, but they like thought through them all, like, oh, well, this makes sense because there's infrastructure right there, and they just tie right in or whatever. I'm just thinking through, like, I think I mentioned the other night, some of the city is so linear, so thin as it just runs down a road. There's not even enough room for a secondary road network to alleviate some of the traffic on those roads. And so, then we were talking about, I wonder if there's an opportunity where rather than having, for the lane to be annexed at the bequest of the property owner, behest of the property owner, then you can work with the county to make, because they're really regional roads, regardless, it's, beneficial to everyone. So I just didn't know, some places are like, no, we don't want to annex anything. Other places are.
I think Tom was
gobbling up.
speaking to that last night about your plan, for the future of doing some type of alternate where we can.
Bypass road.
Yeah,
But we don't have anything in particular to annexation. We look at everything on a case by case basis. Does it make sense? But that's a great idea to look at moving forward.
we've definitely, and we've definitely got holes inside city limits all around it. Those would definitely be, we'd love to have everything connected someday. So.
Improvement to the road on Northwest Highway would be a nice improvement for the people who are there now, including myself. But when you put 500 new homes on there, you're gonna have to have 2 tiers to get them all in and out to 96. It's just not, there's no way that capacity handles another 1,000 people.
That's what we're talking about, needing additional roads,
We haven't finalized that project yet.
Well, we talked about it, Lisa. I think it's coming. Some of us don't want it, but that's a different issue. It's just not.
I don't want it.
It's not feasible. You can put a 6-lane bridge through. You're just going to choke it up. There's not enough capacity for 96, Northwest, 100, our schools. Where are you going to put it?
I noticed, a lot of the subdivisions around here, they all are set up, and I mentioned this the other night, but they're all set up where they're just dumping all their traffic on one particular road. Whereas if they had another exit out the back of the dump, well, it's, starts to disperse the traffic depending on where you're going. And so like the idea of like subdivisions with a spine road or a main entrance or whatever, like really that idea is old fashioned. Well, old fashioned in like from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, but it's not old fashioned if you go back further than that. And so I think hopefully some of the stuff we can do with the zoning will start to have requirements in there that'll alleviate some of that, where everything's just dumping in. But you got a lot that's already done that way. So, kind of looking at the maps, I've been trying to figure out, like, are there opportunities where in some of the existing neighborhoods where there's like a dead end or cul-de-sac or something, there's nothing built at the end of it, and there's like another road is right there, and you just want to touch them, bring them together, and then you can start creating that network. Because even though the people who live on that street will scream and shout about it, they also are coming and screaming and shouting about the traffic. And if your roads aren't designed too wide and crazy, then people aren't going to be speeding through their neighborhood. And if you're adding to the network, time bit by bit, at some point you'll fix the problem. But in the meantime, it's just going to continue unless we change some of that development pattern. So
Sometimes there's a terrain issue. We've got hills and valleys. I know where I live, it's like there's no way to connect because of the steep terrain in our neighborhood. But I guess all that has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I was doing, was looking at kind of where, so obviously you wouldn't just go straight over a hill, but there's ways that you as you do now, some of the roads that
We can make a
traverse
tunnel.
Yeah. And then run your sewer right there. Yeah. All right, what else? Anything else? I think I got what I need. Oh, hey, perfect timing. All right, thank you all for your insights and input. It's very helpful. We'll be taking all this into consideration as we're thinking up thoughts and ideas and things, but understanding kind of the nuts and bolts and what's happening under the ground and in some cases above the ground helps us not get too far afield with wild ideas that aren't feasible. Next event is the closing presentation, which is tomorrow evening at 6:30 in this room. So we'll be showing images and renderings and some plans of different areas that we've been sketching on, and to show you how you could do some of these ideas. We're just picking property. We're not making the people who own the property do that. We're just, and then we'll do Q&A at the end and let people talk as long as they want. And so it'll be the most interesting of the things presentations or discussions we've had. So I wouldn't miss it. All right, y'all.
Thank you.